Okay, so be honest. Do you like meetings? Do you wish you had a few more meetings every day? Now, if I were to stand on the street and ask these questions in a random survey, most people would say, no way! There's no such thing as a good meeting. Everyone hates meetings, right? Well, if you look at the popular press, it sure looks that way. But is it true? Do people really hate meetings? No, not really. If you ask people these questions in surveys or in front of other people, they stick to the stock answers. You know, it's cool to hate on meetings in public. But if you change the question, the answer changes. Ask someone which works better, meetings or lots of email, and they'll pick the meeting. You know, ask someone if the last meeting they led was worthwhile, and they'll usually say it was pretty good. Finally, ask people how they'd feel if they were no longer invited to any meetings. It's so sad. So even my retired relatives make a point of going to at least a few community meetings every month. Meetings are an important way we become part of a group. So everyone hates meetings? Yeah, it's a myth. They don't. But that doesn't mean that the reverse is true. It's not all lollipops and puppy dogs in the conference room. There are lots of lousy meetings out there. And that's a real problem because bad meetings can have a serious negative impact on our businesses and our organizations. When you don't run quality meetings, productivity suffers, your group has trouble making good decisions, and employees become disengaged and are more likely to quit. Finally, it's just way harder to grow your organization or achieve your goals. So, first thing first, we're going to start by making sure every one of your meetings is basically effective. We're going to obey the law of holes here. Now, the law of holes says, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Now, I'm going to show you how to spot worthless, waste of time meetings that just dig you deeper into that hole and get those dealt with right now. Like right now. Stop digging. Okay, how? Well, I have good news. In a business context, meetings are a tool that help us get work done, and as such, there are really only two qualities that truly matter for long-term meeting success. Just two. So if you stay focused on those two qualities, your meetings will work. Now, everything else, all the best practices and the fancy techniques, everything else you'll learn is there so you have some options about how you get it done. So to be effective, a meeting must have high perceived meeting quality, or PMQ, and net positive impact, or NPI. Perceived meeting quality, or PMQ, describes how people feel about their meeting. This is all about whether the meeting was a good meeting from the perspective of the people who were there. A meeting with high perceived meeting quality is one where the participants feel like the meeting was a good use of their time. And, you know, not just the boss, not just the one guy who likes to talk a lot, but the majority of the people in the room say that they had their time well spent. So feeling good about a meeting, you know, that's great, but it's not enough to get you out of that hole. You also need net positive impact, which means that the meeting created more value, you know, more energy, more goodwill, more momentum than it cost you to run it. This is the measure of success from the perspective of the business. You know, the business that's paying all of those people to sit in that meeting and expecting that real work will come out as a result. Now, researchers have looked into this question of PMQ. There was a 2011 study titled Meeting Design Characteristics and Attendee Perceptions of Staff Team Quality that tried to figure out which of the common best practices had the biggest impact. And at the end of the day, they basically found that when someone participates in a high-quality meeting, they feel the time was well spent. And people feel meetings are high quality when they know what to expect, then they have those expectations met. So it's not about having an agenda or, keeping meetings short or any of those things, although they can come in helpful. Instead, it's about having clarity of purpose. So knowing why you're there and what you're meant to be doing together. A basic structure of some kind that gets you there, and using your time together with respect. All of this starts with clarity of purpose, that why, which is why we'll talk about that in the very first section. The meeting's purpose lets people know when a meeting is relevant to them. Now, this matters because people also need to actively participate to feel like a meeting is worthwhile. They need to engage. So if you have folks in your meeting who are checked out, then there's a good chance that either they don't understand the purpose of that meeting or they don't believe that that's relevant to them personally. And that's got to stop. Okay, so you've got clarity of purpose and the relevant people participating. Now you also need to make sure that the meeting is giving something back, that it's creating something of tangible value for your business. The most successful organizations know that meetings aren't interruptions from work or breaks. Meetings are work. You've got to get that value out of that time. So, clarity of purpose and a way for people to participate, resulting in tangible outcomes. That's what we're looking for. Now that we've got that baseline established, we can spot the madness and stop the madness. Any meeting you're running right now that lacks those qualities, that doesn't have a clear purpose, and you don't know what the outcomes are meant to be, should either be canceled or fixed. Also, anyone in those rooms who isn't relevant to the purpose and outcomes, and therefore doesn't have a good reason to participate, needs to be set free. Now, in this course, I'm going to show you exactly how you make sure your meetings work well. You'll learn the 6 core competencies for leading and participating in effective meetings. I'll show you how to define the purpose and outcomes for your meetings and how to create a meeting structure that will make sure you get those results in an engaging, efficient way. I'll teach you about using the time with respect, including when to schedule meetings, how long they should be, and how you can make that time feel like it's flying by. And finally, we'll explore how to take excellent meeting notes that mean you get those results written down where the business can put them to work. But for right now, you should get started with your first exercise. Exercise 1, stop digging. So in the downloads, you'll find a meeting readiness checklist. It looks like this. On the next page, you'll find a place to fill out these details for the next 3 meetings you're leading as best you can. Go ahead and do that next. If you haven't done this before, it might actually be a lot harder than you expect. And that's okay. This is just practice to get you started. Really, no judgment, and I promise it will get easier as we go along. So let's do a quick recap before you get into your assignment. First, everyone hates meetings? It's a myth. 2, the quality of our meetings impacts our business's ability to make good decisions, engage and retain employees, stay productive, and win new business. 3, effective meetings have a high PMQ and NPI, and that means that the people in the meeting feel like it was a good way to spend time and they're getting real work done that's of value to the organization. Finally, 4, your homework. Evaluate your next 3 meetings using the meeting readiness checklist as a guide.